It's not every day you hear about someone who's lived in the White House yet managed to remain a mystery. Barron Trump, the youngest child of one of the world's most talked about families, is an enigma. Who is this towering figure, who rarely speaks but commands so much attention? What's his life really like behind the cameras? And how has he quietly transformed into a public figure without saying a word? Stick around, and by the end of this video, you'll uncover some fascinating insights about Barron's unique journey. And here's the twist, you might just see him in a whole new light. This isn't just about growing up in privilege or under pressure. It's about stepping into a world few can imagine, where privacy and public attention collide. And if you stay till the end, I've saved a surprising revelation that only adds to Barron's mystique. Barron Trump was born into a world of luxury, influence, and high expectations. As the youngest of Donald Trump's 5 children, he had a unique childhood, one that balanced the extravagance of his family's wealth with an unusual degree of privacy. Unlike his older siblings who were often in the spotlight from an early age, Barron's parents, particularly his mother Melania, worked hard to shield him. Melania once said that her priority was raising Barron like any other kid. But how do you do that when your father is a billionaire and a future U.S. president? Even as a toddler, Barron's life stood out. He lived on an entire floor of the family's penthouse in Trump Tower, surrounded by gold-plated decor and panoramic views of New York City. But behind the glamour, his mother played a central role in shaping his early years. Melania insisted on being a hands-on mom, from preparing his meals to ensuring he spoke Slovenian, her native language. Yet, the spotlight was always there, waiting. Rare glimpses of Barron in public dressed impeccably or walking confidently by his father's side sparked curiosity. People wondered, who is this quiet but striking child? But the world wouldn't get a closer look until his father's move to the White House changed everything. Hold on though, because Barron's early life is just the beginning. What happened when this private child was thrust into the world's most famous address? That's coming up next. In January 2017, Barron Trump stepped into a role few children will ever experience, living at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. At just 11 years old, he became the youngest boy to call the White House home since John F. Kennedy Jr. decades earlier. But unlike most first children, Barron's life there remained remarkably under wraps. His move to Washington wasn't immediate. Melania chose to delay their transition, staying in New York until Barron finished his school year. This decision showed how fiercely she protected his sense of normalcy, even as the world watched their every move. When they finally arrived at the White House, they brought more than just their belongings, they brought a sense of mystery. Public appearances were rare, and when they did happen, Barron's quiet, composed demeanor sparked endless speculation. During official events, like his father's inauguration or the annual turkey pardons, cameras captured a boy who seemed to carry himself with surprising maturity. Yet, behind the scenes, he was still just a kid adjusting to life in a historic and highly scrutinized home. One of the most talked about moments during his White House years was Barron's growth literally. He seemed to shoot up overnight, towering over both his parents at public events. People couldn't help but notice, and his height became a defining feature, fueling both admiration and curiosity. But even in this unusual environment, Melania continued her mission to protect Barron's privacy. She ensured his life stayed as normal as possible, shielding him from much of the political chaos surrounding his father's presidency. Still, this chapter of his life was pivotal. It marked the first time Barron began to step into the public eye, even if unintentionally. And as the Trump family's time in Washington came to an end, Barron's next chapter began. But leaving the White House didn't mean leaving the spotlight, far from it. Stay with me, because up next, we'll explore how Barron transitioned into life after Washington and why the world's fascination with him only grew stronger. When the Trump family left the White House in January 2021, many assumed Barron would quietly fade into the background. But instead, the intrigue surrounding him only deepened. His family relocated to Florida, moving into the sprawling Mar-a-Lago estate. Yet, even in this new setting, Barron continued to guard his privacy fiercely. What stands out about Barron during this period is how little the public truly knows about him. While his father remained a dominant figure in politics and media, Barron seemed to carve out a life away from the chaos. His mother, Melania, ensured he was enrolled in an elite private school in Florida, giving him a stable environment to continue his education. But one thing was impossible to ignore. Barron was growing up fast. As he entered his late teens, his height became a trending topic online, with some estimating he now stands over 6 feet 7 inches tall. Social media buzzed with comments every time a new photo of him surfaced. People weren't just curious about his height, they wanted to know who he was becoming. Despite the spotlight, Barron kept his head down. He avoided social media, interviews, and any signs of a public presence. This added to his mystique. Who was this towering young man, seemingly content to stay out of the limelight? What makes this period fascinating is the contrast. On one hand, Barron was living a relatively quiet life, attending school, playing soccer, and spending time with family. On the other hand, the world couldn't stop talking about him. Every rare public appearance sparked a wave of speculation and admiration. But Barron's transition wasn't just about avoiding the spotlight. It was also about quietly building his own identity, separate from the political storms and controversies that surrounded his family. Up next, we'll look at how Barron began to step into the public eye in his own way, and why the world can't seem to look away. Stay tuned, because the next chapter reveals how Barron is redefining what it means to grow up under such intense scrutiny. As Barron Trump matures, he's beginning to shape his own identity, moving away from the shadows of his famous father. While his life has remained mostly private, there have been a few key moments that show how he's slowly becoming his own public figure, even though he's never actively sought the attention. One of the most noticeable changes is his sudden visibility during public events, although they are few and far between. Barron's height, now noticeably taller than both his parents, makes him stand out wherever he goes. Yet, it's not just his physical transformation that draws attention. It's how he carries himself, quiet, composed, but undeniably confident. For example, during a rare public appearance in 2023, Barron walked alongside his father at a major political event. The media couldn't get enough of how mature and poised he looked for his age. The internet exploded with comments, mostly focused on his height, demeanor, and how little he seemed affected by the spotlight that so many of his family members had struggled with. But Barron isn't just a passive figure in these moments. His appearances hint at a quiet but growing influence, especially as people start to see him less as just the first son and more as someone with his own path ahead. He's gradually stepping into a role that combines his family legacy with his own ambitions. Barron has also been spotted indulging in hobbies that paint a picture of his personality. His interest in soccer, for example, showcases a more grounded side of him. While his peers might be in the public eye through social media or celebrity culture, Barron seems to prefer more low-key, personal interests. In all of this, Barron Trump is not just a passive observer of his family's drama. He's slowly creating his own space, one where he's defined by more than just his last name. The most fascinating part? We still don't know exactly what he wants to do with this quiet influence, something that leaves the public on edge, wondering what his future holds. But Barron's transformation into a public figure is far from over. It's just beginning. And as he continues to navigate this new world, people will be watching, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. Up next, let's talk about how the public perceives Barron, and why his silence might be his most powerful statement yet. Barron Trump's silence has created one of the most interesting dynamics in the public eye. While most children of high-profile families grow up surrounded by interviews, social media, and endless public appearances, Barron has chosen, or perhaps been guided, to remain an enigma. And that silence has only fueled curiosity. Many see him as a symbol of grace under pressure. While his father's political career brought endless controversy and headlines, Barron has managed to maintain an almost mythical status. The contrast between his quiet demeanor and his family's loud presence has made people even more intrigued. Social media plays a big role in shaping public perception. Rare photos of Barron tend to go viral almost instantly, with people sharing admiration for his composed appearance and speculating about his personality. Some admire the way he stays out of the limelight, while others project their own ideas onto him, wondering if he might one day step into a leadership role or chart a completely different course. But not all attention has been positive. Growing up in such a polarizing family has also made Barron the subject of unfair scrutiny and inappropriate comments. Yet, the way he and his family handle these moments only adds to his mystique. He doesn't respond, doesn't engage, and doesn't seem to care. Barron's silence is perhaps his most powerful tool. In an era where everyone is online, sharing and oversharing, his decision to stay out of the noise makes him stand out even more. It's almost as if he's redefining what it means to grow up in the spotlight, not by embracing it, but by walking quietly alongside it. This combination of admiration and mystery keeps people hooked. Who is Barron Trump really? And what will he do with the influence and attention that seem to follow him wherever he goes? These are questions that remain unanswered, and that's what keeps the public fascinated. But there's one more layer to his story, a bigger picture that ties together his past, present, and future. In the final section, we'll explore what Barron's life so far might tell us about his potential path forward, and why his next steps are more important than ever. Stick around, you won't want to miss the conclusion. Barron Trump's story is far from over. From his early days as a protected child to his quiet transformation into a towering young adult, he's captured the public's imagination like few others. And yet, he remains a mystery, a blank slate onto which people project their hopes, curiosity, and even their criticisms. But here's what makes Barron truly fascinating. He hasn't had to say a word. In a world obsessed with social media and constant attention, his silence speaks louder than any viral post or headline. It's a reminder that sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones left untold. So, what's next for Barron Trump? Will he follow in his father's footsteps, step into the world of business or politics, or forge an entirely different path? The possibilities are endless, and the world will be watching. If you've made it this far, you're probably as intrigued by Barron's story as the rest of us. And here's the reward I promised earlier, a chance to weigh in on his future. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think Barron will do next? Will he break away from the Trump legacy, or embrace it in his own way? This is more than just a video, it's a conversation about someone who's quietly rewriting the rules of growing up in the spotlight. Your voice adds to the intrigue, and who knows, one day Barron might surprise us all in ways we never imagined. Thanks for sticking around. Until next time, keep questioning, stay curious, and remember, it's often the quiet ones who make the loudest impact.